Go.
Okay, students, we're back. I want to review a little bit on the cut, on the wedge cut. I remember, I learned it, I don't even want to say it. I want to say the early 70s is when I learned how to do this cut. That's when Dorothy Hamill was big. Just kind of go back and Google it and look at that haircut. But anyways, what I wanted to show you, you see what it's done with the man's haircut though. With the last video that we did. We're going to do a little bit more today, but I want to review some. The reason I want to review is, I don't care what videos you watch, if you know where you're at, and you've got a name for it, there is no here. You take it up to here, or you just, you're going to cut it like this. If you know where they're at, even when I watch haircuts, and I watch them, just like you, I go back and see how they do it. In my mind, I'm already thinking, okay, they took it down to the lower ridge. Okay, I see that they only took it to the parietal line. Wait a minute, when they were at the lower nape, they stopped just as it curved out, so they were just above the lower nape line. See, because I know where they're at. So then you can do their haircut exactly the way that they do it and less room for error. So before we review the wedge haircut, because the next haircut we do is not going to take very long, I want to review the head again. All right? So remember, the parietal line, look at my hair, starts right here. See, just take your finger, put it on your bang, and they just go straight across, but you got to keep going straight. You can't go up and down. That line's got to be perfectly straight. That's your parietal line. You've got the flat part of the head. They call this the temporal. They call it the parietal area as well. As a matter of fact, if you look at a medical chart, but we know that it's flat. That's why we labeled it flat. Is it the temporal area? Yes, it's the temple is right here, and this is the area for it. But we call it ourselves the flat part because there's certain things that you don't do on the flat part of the head. For instance, you don't necessarily want to go horizontally. It's going to show those lines. It's going to be weighty. Not when you're close to the head. We've got the nape. How do you find the nape? Put your finger there, gently press. It does it every time. I'm not even looking. I'm not even doing it. I can do it on my mannequin. Look at this. See, I'm just pressing it, and it just does it by itself. Goes right into that line. So within that area, of course, is, we call it behind the ear, because it is behind the ear. Other people don't call it this. Remember, this is our system. This is the system. This is the way I teach. I'm going to share something with you. In teaching my students exactly how to do this and where they're at, I've had students, now some of you are licensed people, students that have been able to do a 90-degree haircut with a razor, and it looks like a shear cut, because I'm so strict about teaching them, where are you? What are you doing? Look at it. So then they know that this curves out. They know that this is the area with the most part of the hair. Okay, so then you have the crown. In the midst of that crown is the vertex. The vertex, again, look at the back of anybody's head. You'll see it. Cowlicks, that's where that swirls. That's where some of them have two. I've never seen people with three. I have seen people with a third one in the middle of the nape, and which was kind of weird, but anyways, that's more people with wavy or curly hair, that hair's growing in different directions. I've seen people with cowlicks up at the frontal fringe area. This is the apex. Apex is the highest point. I know some people call this the ridge or the curve of the head, but if you're specific on your cut, what part of the curve of the head do you need to be? Lower ridge, where the comb leaves the head. Put it right here for you. And you can see that that's marked exactly where the comb leaves the head. Upper ridge, again, you're going to put it right here, above the parietal line. Again, see it? Where the comb leaves the head. So those are specific areas. The apex is, the kind of looks like a goose egg. It's that rounded part of the head. If you do a flat top, that is the shortest part that you're going to find. All right, so pretty much perimeter line, we know that the tragus is a point of measure, and we're learning that the tip of the ear is also a point of measure for that center occipital going horizontal. But see, if we speak the language, we know exactly where we're at to know where we're going. So let's talk about the haircut. I'm gonna let my cameraman focus a little bit. So let's talk about the wedge haircut. This is the top of the head. All right? So you can see that it's in 4 quadrants. In other words, 4 squares, 4 corners, 4 sections, 4 quads. Where would you say the longest point is? Now that you see how the hair is held, do you see where at the center apex is where that longest point is for each one? And all you have to do is measure. And I can do that with this marker. Look at that. That fits right there. Gets a little longer, gets a little longer, gets a little longer, gets a little longer, gets a little longer. You're not going to pinch it tight. Now, one of the cuts we do possibly tomorrow or on our next video where I show you how to make that corner, you will. But on this one, you don't. You want to leave it, I mean, a good finger's length away, maybe a pinky's length. You'll learn. You'll see it. Get the feel of it. Get the feel of it. Different heads do different things. All right, so you're going to take that into, I kind of put this corner in here, the square, into that round head form. So you definitely know where the front is because of this area here. See? This area here. So you can see that. That's where the bangs are. You can't see the back. So this is where then you determine, this is where you develop an eye for it. This area, this corner, and I'm going to show you, matches up. Are we okay, cameraman?
Yep.
This corner matches up with this corner. That's how you find it. You see, I don't just show you, I tell you how, why, where, what, and when. So that's how you're going to find that corner when you elevate it up to the lower ridge, because things are coming to the lower ridge. You're going to have slightly longer here, definitely longer from the apex down, from the tip of the ear over. It's only going to be slightly longer to blend to do what? Create that duckbill. Now, what was the rule about shorter hair? Shorter hair moves longer. Do you see why that feathers back? Shorter hair moves longer. So these two help each other to push that hair back. There's all your whys. There's your geometry. There's your architecture. There's all of it. All right. So in doing the wedge haircut, which is going to come back, I just know it. And even now you could use it and be creative with it. And it would be yours. And people would say, how did you do that? Oh, I just learned it. Yeah, it's yours. I just gave it to you. All right? So what you decide to do underneath the wedge is totally up to you. Can that be done with, okay, let's say that you choose to do a wedge. All right, you could take it from the lower ridge and the rest of it would just be a 90-degree cut. You'd have a longer cut with some definite feathering back. Could be a uniform layer. You can do whatever you want with anything underneath that wedge depending on the look. This is where you practice with your mannequins and so on when you're doing the cut. Now, once you've done your wedge, you're going to elevate this up. See, remember we took it up to the lower ridge, which is right here, lower ridge. Did the 4 corners. Took it all up to that. Now, we're going to clean the bottom. We're going to travel down a bit to the tip of the ear. And then we're going to take it up along the back, and we're going to leave the flat part of the head alone. Remember, we left that alone when we did this cut. So we want to bring this hair up to start blending, and then we do the taper underneath, which would be only at the nape. Nah, that's not quite dark enough. Come on, darker. Okay, that would be only at the nape. And you recall, cameraman, could you put that over here a minute? For those of you that are new that are watching this, if you haven't seen it already, I'm going to do it one more time for you to show you how to diagram a head form. Can you see this over here, cameraman, or do I have to do the mannequin? You can? All right, so you know how to do a question mark, right? Because I want you to diagram all your cuts. You really should. That's how you learn. When you write it down, it travels up your arm, over your shoulder, and into your brain. You get it. All right, so we're going to question mark. Can you see that? Do I need to make it darker? I need to go buy some more markers.
That's
There.
better.
Question mark. That's how you start the head form. You know what a number 1 is? There's your forehead. What about the ears? 1, 2. That's it. put the air in, and then you start marking up the rest of it. Parietal line, flat part, nape, behind the ear, occipital, crown, vertex, apex, frontal, upper ridge, lower ridge. Perimeter line, tragus, that's a point of measure. That's why you have that little nodule on your ear, that's the tragus. But we know too that we use the tip of the ear as a measure to go down horizontally to the center, center occipital. So all of those. And then you have your hairline or your perimeter line, and then you have what? Your interior, in other words, the hair inside the head. I hope I got them all. I'm not exactly sure. I feel like I'm missing one, but you know, watch the video. The video has them all on it, on defining what a true haircut is, and just watch my videos before, it'll show you that. So what I want to do now, we've reviewed a little bit, we've covered some, and like I said, this cut is not going to take long. You can see that this is still laying really, really nice. I mean, shorter on the bottom, but yet travels out the top. We still have done nothing. By the way, I asked you earlier, where was the longest point? Let me show you something. Whoops. There's your corner. There's your longest point. Center apex. Travel here, there, there, there. Everything around it slightly shorter. All right? So that's your longest point. Do you have corners? Yes, you're going to have corners because this traveled over, but not as extreme as this. Okay, these traveled over in this direction. It depends on where you are to know where you're going. So what I'm going to do now is we're going to do a higher taper. And do you notice we still have done nothing with the top? Nothing with the top. So I'm going to bring this over and I'm going to taper it up just a little higher. And what I want to do is I'm going to do it with my clipper. I want to talk to you about the Oster clipper. I just happened to be over at Sally's today. I had to go pick up some stuff. Do you realize, kind of laughed about it because I thought to myself, OMG. Oster clippers are running now, and that has a lot to do with the pandemic, by the way, because they were out of clippers. We even went to our dog groomer, and I thought, I'm going to go check out and see if they use the same clippers. They were out of clippers as well. People were buying clippers at the dog groomer to do their hair at home. So mine, later on, I'd say in 6 months, check out the thrift stores. You might find one. They don't know the value. This guard, this is what I like about it, is I change my guards. I don't have the same, this blade, I don't have the same blade all the time. So this is a 3.5. Does Oster have guards? Yes, it does. They've got all sizes of guards. Where is it? Here it is. Okay, this guard here is a 1/8. So let's say that this 3.5, the client said, you know, the last time you got it just a little bit too short. Can we have it just a little bit longer? And then you look at them and you say, a little bit, or do you want a little bit more, a little bit? They go, no, just a little bit longer. Okay, so 1/8. So what I like about these, you put them in the back, click it up, and it's in there. All right, so now what I'm going to do is this is about a 4, almost a 4. As far as, now remember I told you yesterday, look at that, the width to that is perfectly to the width of my finger. Check them, that's how you know, that's how you develop an eye for it. So I'm going to take it now, I'm going to hold his head, and I'm going to take him, and I'm holding my clipper straight out. This is what I want you to notice about a clipper. You see that flat part? That's the cutting part. This flat part right here is what cuts. This, you see how you pull away from it and create length, create a curve, create a fade, create a blend when you pull away. There's your answers for that. So this flat part right here, if you have a guard, is what you're going to use. Let's say you don't have a guard. Now these can be tricky to take off. Let me put one of my other blades on so I can show you real quick because that's going to take too long. Here it is. Okay, so let's just say that you just have the blade on. The blade doesn't move as much. Do you see where the blade has a slight slant? So then you would elevate it in this form. with the guard, because I want it to be totally flat, I'm going to elevate it in this form. It's a little different. These little details are what make the difference if you have a guard on there. Be aware of it. Don't just assume, because you know what that does. All right, so I'm going to hold the head. I'm taking this straight up. Now, I am not going around. I'm taking it like I'm going up to the sky only. It makes it hard because I am resting only on this. Whereas if I had it at this form, see, it would be a little easier. So this, I have to watch what I'm doing to make sure that I don't go around the curve. So I'm fading it up. Turn it around a bit for you to see. I want this hair up at the parietal line. Taking that off. Okay, I almost need to use a comb for that, so I'm going to clip this up. And this is another little trick of the trade for you to do. Let me find my, there's a clippy. So sometimes you need to tell the hair, okay, look, you're going to do it, all right? You're going to do what I want. That's all there is to it. You're going to do what I want. So I'm going to hold the comb like this, bring that up. Now I have something for it to rest on. Yeah, there you go. Oh, I see what's happening. Hang on a minute. There, okay. Hold it tight in there. But you see how I'm holding the comb? The comb is straight. That would be exactly the same way. And if you have a problem with your blade doing what it needs to do, this blade doesn't like to have a guard on it. So what I'm going to do is just take the guard off. I'm not messing with it anymore. And you'll just see this stuff just come off. So we're doing it at a 3.5. There you go. I'm just using my clipper comb. I love these combs. Okay, see, I can't turn his ear. I wanted to. But you see look at the direction of my blade. I'm not having it flat. It's at an angle. All right, so then I'm going to come up. And look at that, how much more it took off. Just with the 3.5. That one little bit makes a difference. That one little area makes a difference on what you're doing. So now what we've done, and I hope you can see the side there because I'm taking it straight up to just blend it in. There you go. So now, yep, we're bringing it straight up to the parietal line, staying within, once we get to the lower ridge, we're done. We just go straight up. If I said, go to the curve of the head, well, then you start curving. We don't want you to start curving. We want you to take it to the lower ridge and then go straight up. All right, so I'm going to bring this over, take that parietal line up, being that, I've been doing this a long time, so I know exactly where that parietal line is at. Not to worry. And once you develop an eye for it, I won't be any better than you. You're going to do the same thing. All right, so I'm going to come back over to this side. You see now we still have our little ducktail here, duck butt. And that's, you see, it's straight up. I'm not going this way. I'm going straight up. That creates a nice little fade area right there and a nice little blend. But I am getting rid of all of that little ducktail in the back, but you're going to see that the hair itself, okay, there's my parietal line, straight up. So this is what I wanted to show you, is watch your blade. Watch what you're doing. This blade now will rest on it. You can see that the blade is resting on it and I'm coming straight up. The clipper is now held down at a slight angle. Could I have done this with my wall clipper and gotten better results as far as the guard? Possibly, because the wall clipper is pretty much meant to use guards because they don't have the different size blades. Now, this is what I want to show you. Okay, so we've taken that all off. Still have the wedge cut, hasn't changed. The wedge cut is still there, still on top. A lot of guys like this, and I'm going to wet him down. And then he's still going to have his little ducktail in the back. So there is so much that you can do with this cut that still looks really cool, and they like it. This is your cut now. Take this wedge cut and make use of it. So now he's got this little tail right here. Little ducktail right in the middle. There you go. You see that that's still a very nice cut coming into it. He's gotten rid of a lot of this. Some guys like this because they want to put their hair up in a ponytail. Well, this allows them to do it and the hair stays back and away from their face as the rest of it grows. So you can do this with a wedge cut as far as them coming into it, and it comes out really nice. Still works for them, still does what they wanted to do. Now, if they want a side part, again, you can do it. And still have that little ducktail in the back. Where everything feeds to the center, you just take it up to the upper ridge in the back, take it up to the upper ridge, bring it down to the center. Now they might say go ahead and take that off, but if they want to start putting it up in a ponytail, they're not. They're going to want that left there. So there you go. You've got your, your little side part if you want. Part it over to the other side, doesn't matter. Still going to go back. Still have our corner up front, and it just lays nice. So what we wanted to show you today, we wanted to show you a wedge haircut to a taper. We did that yesterday. Today we took it to a what? Shorter. That's all we did. Shorter. And my pen is running out of ink. So I hope you can see that, to a shorter look. So these are variables that you can do. On our next video, we are going to take it, we are going to totally fade it up and start losing some of our wedge cut look. I'm going to show you how to take it so that you create some volume. There's the whys and there's the reasons on how to do it. How much time do I have, cameraman? 6 minutes? Okay. So real quick right now, if they want you to take this off, you don't want to create a hard line here. If you're going to take it off, you still want to create a little bit of a smoothness. If you're good with a razor, it's good to do it with a razor. If you're not good with a razor, remember this hair traveled this way to that line, traveled that way to that line to be cut across. So this hair definitely has a corner right there. So what we're going to do is we're going to elevate it up to the upper ridge. There's your upper ridge. See, there's the parietal line, and the upper ridge is just above that. That is a corner. I'm going to take off the corner. I am going to cut it horizontally, but because I'm elevating it up, it's going to lay a little better. There you go. See how that rounds it out, and we don't have our little tail there anymore. So it rounds it out a little better. Take it up to the upper ridge. Don't cut it down here. Don't cut it straight out. You have to elevate it to create a slight layering in there so that it comes in a little bit better. And right, we got rid of our corner. That's the length we were wanting to remove. That was all the length we wanted to remove, because what? You can still put it up in a ponytail. All right? So solutions, not problems. So like I said, when you watch the other videos, please know where you're at. Look at it and say, okay, I see where they took that off at the apex, or I see that they only went up to the lower ridge, and then what did they do with the clipper? They carved away. That's called carving. All right? So there's terms for all of this. They didn't pull away. They carved it away, just like a carver goes in and carves a statue. They normally use this motion. Sometimes they use this motion. That's the razor work. All right, I'll say that when we do razor work. But anyways, oops, sorry. Should I sanitize it? See you later.